Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for another card video. The stamp set I'm using today by Sunny Studio called Holiday Style is so cool. It has this 3-step bell stamp along with an ornament multi-step stamp and a bow multi-step stamp and this bow. It's just such a great set. I'm also using this postage stamp set of dies by Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to start my card with Stampin' Up! Thick cardstock. So this is thicker than your typical Whisper White, so you can use it as a card base. And I'm stamping with Stampin' Up! Inks, and that's why I'm using it. I'm going to measure 1 3/8 of an inch from the bottom of the card, and then I'm going to use my T-square to draw a guideline at the bottom. Now, this is where I found to be the best place to put the bottom of my bell tree. I'm also going to mark the center so I know where to put my first bell. For the bell, you'll need a light gray. I'm using Smoky Slate, a medium gray. I've got Charcoal Hero Arts, and then a black ink. And this starts at the top and then it goes down. Those are the 3 steps. So I'm going to take that first solid one. I'm using my Stamp-A-Ma-Jig because I know that I can get really exact in my stamp placement. Now I'm going to put it right where that center mark is on my guideline, and then I'll take my stamp, I'll ink it up with this Smoky Slate. And when you use the Stamp-A-Ma-Jig, you get the best results if you just go, you put it in the corner, you go straight down and straight up. So I'm going to repeat this for all 3 of these. Notice I did the middle one first and then each side. This is the second one, the second step, and so I'm going to ink that up with some charcoal, and I'm also using my Stamp-A-Ma-Jig. These stamps are really easy to line up, and I have a little mini cube here, and I find that it's easier to do the stamp upside down where I'm holding the ink pad and inking it up the opposite way. And I'm going to stamp that down and up, and I'm going to do that on all 3 of these bottom ones. And then I'm going to move to the 3rd step, which is the 3rd stamp down in the set here. You can use any black ink. I'm using Hero Hues black ink. And again with the Stamp-A-Ma-Jig so that I can easily line these up. Stamp down and up, and I'm going to do that on all 3. So now I'm going to lift this up and show you. This looks so cool. They look really shiny and silvery. So anyway, now I'm going to stamp my hooks in real red, and I'm also using a Stamp-A-Ma-Jig because it has a little break in the hook and I want to make sure I get it exactly on that loop of the bell. So I'm going to do all 3 of these, and the reason why I'm doing the hooks now is because I want to get the best placement for my second level of the tree. So I'm going to start again the same sequence, and I'm going to use my Smoky Slate on this first solid stamp, and I'm placing it as far down as I can in between the 2 bottom bells. Again, just down and up. And you can see I'm getting it as far down as I can so that I have as much space at the top as possible. Once I get that first bell placed, I'm going to take my T-square and I'm going to draw a line under where that second one needs to go so that they're exactly even horizontally. And then again, just going through all of the steps to create these 2 bells now. And then finally the last one, I'm going to stamp right in between those 2. And that will finish my tree. Now you could also do this same layout with the ornament that comes in this set. For the bow at the bottom, I'm using 2 colors, Cherry Cobbler and Real Red. For the first of the 3 stamps, I'm going to ink it up with my Real Red, stamp off, and then stamp right underneath the tree. And this is going to give me just a lighter shade of red. For the next 2, I did that one freehand. For the next 2, I'm going to use my Stamp-A-Ma-Jig. For step 2, I'm going to ink it up with the Real Red. I'm not going to stamp it off. I'm going to stamp directly on, so you can see the difference between the 2 stamps. And then for the 3rd, I'm going to use the Cherry Cobbler again with my Stamp-A-Ma-Jig. And so this Cherry Cobbler is just a shade darker than the Real Red. And it really does look like a realistic bow. I love this set. It's just so cool. For my sentiment, I'm going to do it underneath the bow, and I'm going to freehand it here, but I've spent so much time stamping, I don't want this to get messed up. So once I get it on the paper, I'm going to grab my Stamp-A-Ma-Jig handle, put it down before I lift it up. So if I lift it up and it's not complete or it's not dark enough, I can always stamp it again because I have my Stamp-A-Ma-Jig in place. So I'm going to erase all of those lines, and I'm going to die cut this postage stamp die out of some garden green cardstock by Stampin' Up. I want this to pop up. My Scotch foam tape is pretty thick, so I'm just going to cut it into a bunch of thin pieces and line the backing of this garden green piece. And I started with an A2, and I just centered that die and cut it. That way I knew that I would get my die right in the middle of my card. I adhered it really carefully to the base by starting in the corner and kind of working my way outward until the whole thing was sticking. And that is the card. So it was a pretty easy card to make, just a lot of stamping. And these bells look really cool. So I'll have to create another one with the ornaments at some point. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.